right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we are live from Maya Cinemas to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. I think everybody has been super excited about this one, and I was excited to do this show. I knew it would be a fun one. Surprisingly, our first ever live show on a Marvel movie. So it got into a lot of tangents on a lot of different stuff around the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but we have a great conversation coming up. Joining me, I've got Mike Davis, Faith Nault, and Marco Arriaga. Great conversation, great panel, some great audience participation, really fun time up there at Maya Cinemas, which, by the way, we'll be back at Maya Cinemas on August 15th for Alien Romulus, and before that, we'll be back at Downtown Cinemas on August 4th for Trap. So 2 more live shows coming up. Hope to see some of you there. You can enter to win tickets right now. And while you're at it, you can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod, join our Facebook group Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, and of course, make sure you're subscribed because all these episodes are on the way. We've got a lot of episodes already recorded, on the way, practically the whole month of August. I could probably take a break if I wanted to, but I'm not gonna. There's lots of movies I want to cover, but make sure you're subscribed. And with that said, let's get into Deadpool and Wolverine. All right, so I'm David Rosen, the host of the Piecing It Together podcast. We're a podcast that takes a look at a movie through the lens of what other movies might have inspired it, and we're going to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine right now. But first, I want to introduce my lineup here. So starting off, we got Mike right here. Introduce yourself to the crowd. Tell them what you do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Davis from Fox 5 Las Vegas. I'm a entertainment host, sports anchor, host a bunch of different shows, and I love movies.
Absolutely.
Especially when they play straight through.
That is always for the best. I agree with you there. Yeah. Sorry, everybody, about the technical difficulties. But, Faith is up next. How you doing, Faith?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I'm excited to talk about this one. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, my name is Faith Nault. I'm a local filmmaker, director, producer, writer, sound designer. I like Marvel movies because my sister makes me watch them all.
Right on. And then we got Marco over there. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, my name is Marco Arriaga. I'm a stand-up comedian, content creator, and professional wrestling ring announcer. But on top of all that, I just love movies.
Right on. And Mike and Marco, their first time on the show. Very happy to have them here and excited to get into this one. I like to start these shows out for anyone who's here who has not listened to Piecing It Together before. I like to just jump right in. We call the movies that might have inspired the movie we just watched a puzzle piece, and I like to just throw one right out, just get the conversation rolling. And I feel like the one to kick this off is The Flash, which we're going to the other superhero universe. But, as far as diving into the comics and all of what could be that maybe just never got a chance to be in previous movies and giving that to the fans. This movie is pure fan service. Whether or not this movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, is good, quote unquote, I don't know. Like, that we'll probably have a lot to say throughout this conversation, but does it deliver what I think fans want out of this, which is these other versions of Wolverine, Deadpool, these characters who we haven't seen in years, Blade being in there. I mean, come on. I think it does that, and I think it does it a lot better than The Flash did. Were you guys fans of The Flash over there, any of you?
No.
I never saw it.
I actually never
I can't
saw
even
it.
You haven't seen it yet?
you. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
Also, spoilers on the. Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, we're going to be
On the
spoiling
other-
away.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
here has seen it for sure. We know.
yeah,
But
I kept I kept thinking about Anchorman 2, kind of like that
Crazy.
kind of thing where it was kind of regurgitating all this information and all these characters, and it's missing the mark a little bit here and there, but it's also hitting and doing a little bit of fan service. So I don't know. I kept thinking about that in terms of how they were regurgitating so much material.
mm-hmm.
But I think it actually, I had a more pleasant digestion of the film, I think, after this than I had with Anchorman 2.
Yeah,
I think your dad's heckling me.
Yeah, I know. He's already starting. Dad, you're just going to have to turn the ear up. He doesn't have an earpiece, but, turn it up. I'm going to count Anchorman 2 as your first piece because I actually think that's a great kickoff here. I think that's really fun to take these characters and just build on it and just throw all kinds of new crap in there. I mean, they really just throw so much.
I know. It's you almost have to watch it twice. I mean, and go back and forth. But I mean, so that I kept trying, and obviously this is a buddy film, so I was thinking a lot of buddy film kind of tropes as well. And I want to save some of my pieces, but I think I have a buddy film piece that I probably will incorporate as well.
Beautiful. We'll get to it. Let's go to you, Faith. What do you have?
Wow, he left us on a cliffhanger for his next piece. Okay, so on the road of sequels and trios and whatever, I was thinking the end of Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest into At World's End.
Ooh, okay.
Because Barbossa, you think is, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Pirates, this has been out for decades now. Barbossa's dead, and then at the end of the second one, he's revealed in an end credit scene, I think, or the end of it. And then the third one, it's Jack Sparrow in Davy Jones' locker with like 90 of him. So I think that there's parallels to seeing these separate timeline entities of all our favorite characters, and it's very similar to seeing Jack Sparrow in like 20 different versions.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we get some jabs at the whole multiverse idea here, which is very fun, and I'll talk about that more later too. But in something like Pirates of the Caribbean, it's like there's only 4 of them. It's not like done over and over
again. There's 5
again.
now, but
that's true, 5. Yeah, but
maybe a 6 soon.
We'll see. Yeah, then if they keep doing it, we might get a little sick of it. But but no, I thought it was really fun when they did that in that one. So I think that's a great one to bring up here. And of course, we've got the Disney connection too. So Marco, let's go to one from you.
Just to say, when they were locked in that purgatory, I was like trying to think of like what movie was like, oh man, where do they? So Davy Jones's locker is perfect. But to talk about like multiverse or like interdimensional stuff, my like puzzle piece was the Adjustment Bureau.
Sure.
Like not only did they like do the door bit, where they would like kind of go through like the dimensions. It kind of had like that secret base sort of like, hey, we're kind of in control of like these things, making sure things happen as they should without minimal interference,
Yeah.
And on top of that, I kind of, and of course they kind of like break the fourth wall talking about all the multiverse stuff. But Adjustment Bureau always kind of stood out to me as like the like business side of like multiverse,
sure,
or like interdimensional, whatever.
Yeah, it's like an agency, like
yeah. So this movie really stuck out in that way, or like kind of compared to that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that movie in a long time, but
Shout out Anthony Mackie, baby.
Yeah, for
Come
sure.
on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Falcon too, or
Yep.
Captain America. My bad.
You got it. I like that one a lot. And yeah, because this movie does take, this whole multiverse thing can be taken in so many different ways, whether it's like, the Sam Raimi style with Multiverse of Madness versus like we already brought up The Flash here. There's so many different ways to do it, and doing it in like a bureaucratic government thing that kind of runs it all, like, and which is obviously also just like Marvel, it's just a whole meta thing. I think that's a really interesting one to bring up here. To that point of the whole multiverse thing and them poking fun at the fact that hasn't really worked too well so far since, post Endgame. I was thinking of 8 Mile and Eminem's B Rabbit, like throwing out all the jabs at himself within his freestyles. That way no one could use them on him after the fact. And so this is Marvel B Rabbiting this freestyle of the multiverse. Like, it is him just throwing that stuff out there, and now you can't say that it's not going well because he already said it. And it's kind of clever of Marvel. I'm a sucker for meta stuff, and so for Marvel to do something like that and to allow the Deadpool character, who is the perfect character to deliver that kind of thing, and just trash talk them constantly and make fun of Hugh Jackman, and they're going to make you do this till you're 90, all that stuff. It's great stuff that is, we're watching this
first night that it's out. Critic reviews are already pretty terrible on this
Dang,
movie.
really?
Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know what they expected. It's a Deadpool movie. It's not like Ant-Man 3 where they made it not an Ant-Man movie anymore. This is a Deadpool movie straight up, and they should have expected what it is. But the critics can't really throw the stuff that they actually say in the movie back at them because he already did it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Deadpool guy. I rewatched the first one in preparation for this. I thought the first one was close to being a perfect superhero
So
movie. Second one's pretty good. I actually, as I'm digesting and marinating all my thoughts, and I think we have to be clear to our listeners right now that we are a little janky in our digestion of this film because there was a lot of stumbles throughout with the actual playing of the film. So
Yeah.
I've never been in a movie ever where it was buffering, literally, like I'm watching YouTube at home. Like, so I couldn't actually fathom that would ever happen in a movie. But so I think that maybe my tone and my excitement for the film might be a little, sliced up, like Wolverine, maybe sliced through it with his
Very nice.
claws. But
That was really good.
but what I would say is, I'm curious about this because I have had it with, and I'm happy that they offered up their own jabs at the whole multiverse thing because I've had it with the multiverse. I can't do it anymore, and I just can't. So my question, I think, for this panel for you is this film gonna set course new territory for future superhero films? Is Marvel saying, okay, we're poking fun at ourselves, we're offering up that we've kind of we've had some blemishes, we've made some mistakes going back to the well again and again. Now we poke some fun at ourselves and we're going to set new course and new territory for the future. Is that what this film is doing?
I don't think so at all, but I do think Captain America Brave New World might, hopefully. But this movie, no, this is just, let's just have some fun. And like, there doesn't seem to be anything here as far as like story or weight or trying to move forward since Endgame. Like, they really have just been spinning their wheels, and this is not changing that. I feel like if anything else, hopefully it's them getting it out of their system, but that remains to be seen.
It's unfortunate because watching this was a little bit like torture at some times because, they know the juice of the movie and what audiences came to see when Wolverine and Deadpool are going at it, when they're, beating the crap out of people and doing John Wick-esque fight scenes and all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that's simple and I think we can all be excitable about. But I think when they try to drench it in so much exposition, and even though they're poking fun at the exposition, and even though it's multiverse and we know it's multiverse, but we're going to poke fun at it, you're still torturing me, even though you're breaking the fourth wall. I mean, so I think there's something to be said about that.
I think so too. Either you guys want to comment on that before we move on to another piece here?
I would say that until they fix Scarlet Witch's storyline, I'm never going to trust Marvel again because I saw Doctor Strange 2 numerous times and I was like, we already had this grieving woman fight because her husband's dead, and now I just think they just reused the story. Yeah. And it made me kind of get tired of Marvel very quickly, and then I watched Ant-Man 3 and I also was like, what is happening with Marvel? Yeah. So I think this gave me a little bit of hope because, we're adventuring out into these timelines, but I'm still kind of, I'm wearing a Guardian shirt. That was a good movie. The third one was a good one. Yeah. But yeah, I think until I think this is a risk, and I like that they took this risk. Sure. I enjoyed it. I think as like a Marvel fan, and other Marvel fans might appreciate it if it's not, playback like this. I'm definitely going to rewatch it. But yeah, I mean, they teased Scarlet Witch for a second. She's like I don't know if you saw that. She's like in the fountain. They showed it.
I didn't even notice.
My sister and I were like, what is happening? And Heart was like, oh my God. They didn't.
They just got to
really
pack
depressing.
it with stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the stuff that the shock factor in a lot of these newer Marvel movies they're trying to do, like who's going to show up. And I think in this one they did a pretty good job. I mean, we were all freaking out when Blade shows up. Sure. And I didn't watch those, so my sister's like, that's this person. I'm like, oh. And then, we have Chris Evans show up, and we're like, oh my gosh, what is he playing in this universe? Like, we don't know. Like, that's really cool.
But I have to interrupt here for a second, because is that supposed to satisfy and quench the thirst of audiences? Like that is a great, like I'm just fascinated by that concept. Like why, okay, that's a moment, but that could also be an SNL sketch.
Right.
So I mean, what does that have to do with actually making a fully formed, developed film?
Right, and that's why I
just
think
don't get that.
That's why I think this is not moving things forward. Yes, it was more fun than a lot of their other movies recently. Like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is great. Like, end of story,
But it also
great.
moves the story
But
forward. In
it
the
does,
universe.
yeah.
Like we know what Star-Lord is going to do right now, and we know what the new Guardians are doing.
This
but
still feels
one's-
like the after effects of the last Ant-Man movie, which sucked.
Yeah.
This feels like the after effects of the last Spider-Man movie, which was more fan service rather than artistic.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I
100%.
think both
Around
this
this.
Spider-Man and the newer Spider-Man and this film are very similar in the fact that we had these like rumors of, oh my God, who's going to be in this movie, right? Like it could be this person, it could be this person, and then we get in, we watch it, and we're like, okay, and yeah, did it satisfy that little bit of hope we wanted from those
But
characters?
how-
But then they're only in it for 2 minutes.
I just don't get.
Right.
I just don't get.
It's
So
like,
what?
what?
The concept is for millennials, like, oh, we're going to see Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. That's great. So what is this? Like a Backstreet Boys in sync? We're just going to do like, you know, we're old farts now. We're going to do our, you know, play the
those
old
scores
hits.
do
Like,
very well.
Kind of want to see that. Like
I
mean,
don't.
like,
Yeah.
It's this was fan service, sure, but it was the ultimate bait and switch. Like we all were expecting lame ass Captain America from Chris Evans, sure, but instead we got something that I don't think anyone was expecting. Were we like anyone expecting Human Torch?
No, as
No.
a joke though, during
Yeah,
my rewatch of
yeah,
that,
yeah,
everything I
but,
kept
you know-
going is that Human Torch, and it really was.
Yeah. So I mean, like, no, I mean, it's fan service, sure, but it's at least kind of turning it on its head and doing something a little bit different.
It's just not. It's a moment. It's not a storytelling device.
Right, and that's the thing.
And
And
that's
they
what
can't
sucks.
keep doing that. Like, there's only so many times they can bring back. What's his name? Human Torch? I don't even.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
Chris
but-
Evans at this point.
Yeah, like there's only so many times you can bring these characters back, and you know it's definitely going to burn out if they keep doing it. But
I mean, just to jump in on this bringing characters back thing. I think back to my puzzle piece, I guess.
Sure.
Captain Barbossa, they fully fleshed him out again, right? Like he's in once he's dead and gone in the second one. They bring him back in the third.
he had story,
And their
like,
story,
yeah.
like he has an arc, and if you saw the fifth one, like we get the
don't
closing
know.
of that arc. So I think like that's where Disney kind of did it well. I'm not saying they did it amazingly because it's Disney and they have like 20 movies for.
Okay,
when it should
let me
be
just
over,
give
so.
an analogy here. You know, like I love margaritas, right?
Amazing.
Okay,
Frozen or on the rocks?
on the rocks.
Okay.
So
All right.
you have a margarita, right? And sometimes I love my margarita on the rim to have that tahine, you know, that
Sure.
great goodness stuff. Okay, it's the best, right? I see actually right there, and I wasn't even inspired by that, maybe unconsciously.
Nice.
Well, the tahine isn't the drink. The tahine adds to the drink experience, right? But if somebody's trying to become the best mixologist on the face of the earth and they're like, okay, I'm going to spin this on my head. I'm going to put 90% or 80, let's say the 80-20 rule. I'm going to put 80% of my effort into fixating on the tahine, and I'm not going to give a shit about what's in the cup. Well, that's going to be a bad drink. And that's what this movie feels like. It feels like they're focused on the tahine rather than what's actually in the cup. So the thing is, yeah, we had a Chris Evans Human Torch like bait and switch. Who gives a shit? You know, like, I mean, the thing is, that's not the film. That's just a part of the film that's a little tahine to it. But if we're doing everything tahine, well, where is the drink? And I think that's what I'm upset about.
I agree with you fully, but they're going to sell a shitload of those tahine margaritas.
But I don't
actually
know
a
because
gin drink.
because the first Deadpool movie was a perfect balance
Right.
of a fully formed story where we're focused on what's inside the drink, and guess what? You're never going to taste a margarita like this because on top of it, we have the best tahine thing on the rim of this cup. So it was a perfectly balanced drink because you have a great story. It's fully formed. It can function on its own without the tahine. But then you add the tahine to it and you're like, wow, this is one of the best margaritas I ever had.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I'm basically with you on that. I just think that people really do love this shit, and I think that they're gonna have a blast with it, regardless of if it moves the story forward in any way, shape, or form.
I mean,
but
for the right, like to your point, I think I hated Doctor Strange too, but I watched it 3 or 4 times because I was like, why do I hate it so much? Because I really wanted to love it, and I slowly started to like it, which was really, really weird. But yeah, I mean, I saw it 3 different times because I was eating it up. I was like, whoa, this is kind of a interesting take on these characters that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
But there was something that didn't satisfy me because I was like, this is not the character like I love, right? So
Sure.
I get that like frustration because the way that you're speaking about this movie is how I was speaking after Doctor Strange 2. I was like, what did I just watch? I can't believe it. Like that's how I sounded.
yeah.
And I get it. Like
That's
this
how I
is-
felt too, because it was a Sam Raimi movie,
Right.
and yet it did
Yes.
nothing.
Right,
for
exactly,
me, so,
exactly. It
yeah.
it hurt me that I was so disappointed. I
Yeah.
left and I was like, why do I hate it? I want to
Absolutely.
love it so much. Yeah.
Well, let's go to some more puzzle pieces. What do you got next, Mike?
Wow, let me try to get out of my angry energy. I guess John Wick with twofold. A lot of the fight sequences, even as I watched back Deadpool 1, I was watching it in preparation for this, like I stated earlier. And a lot of the fight scenes weren't as influenced as it seems like they are now, given, how many John Wicks have there. I feel like that. How many John Wicks have
Me?
there been? Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't.
Oh, there's been
Okay.
4.
There's been like 4. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love those. I feel like that film really knows itself well. That franchise, they do a great job, and I think the brutality and the fight scenes are expertly done. Similar, like I listened to your Beekeeper, show, like that
Sure.
was heavily influenced by that as well. But so twofold for this, I'd say the fight sequences, especially in the train, in the bus, and
Right,
all
the
those
little
types of
side-scrolling
things, and
thing,
the way
that
they're
was
doing the
cool.
dolly movement with the camera and just kind of moving the pacing along with the kills was that. But also the impact of a dog in this film, and how that was a puzzle piece in terms of moving this an emotional story forward in John Wick. I guess in some ways that was kind of like the save the cat or the emotional element to this, because there wasn't so much Vanessa
Yeah.
in
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
so it was almost like we got half Vanessa and we got a half of a dog with its tongue that's
Yeah.
permanently outside
I
of
think
its
it's
face.
Britain's ugliest
It
dog.
is.
Is that right?
Is it?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a famous dog. So
The true love story was really just Deadpool and
Yeah.
Wolverine.
true. Yeah. That's the real love story in this thing. But let's go to another piece right there. Faith, what do you got?
Okay, similar to your vibe from earlier, you made me think of a piece, Minority Report.
Oh.
Tom Cruise.
Hey, okay.
Did I steal something?
No, no,
but
no,
okay,
no,
okay.
no, that's just good.
No, he made me think about it.
It's Matt Damon. Huh?
No, it's Tom Cruise.
Oh,
Tom
that's
Cruise,
right. That's
yeah.
right. I'm thinking Bourne.
Now I can't I watched it for a class assignment, but I liked it nonetheless. But I remember it being like, Tom Cruise realizes there's like 20 different variations of what could happen, and he knows when there's gonna be a death, and it's very like crazy. It gives me Loki vibes actually, but it's very similar to like if you could control the timeline, like should you? And I think in that movie they kind of asked that question: if you can manipulate time or manipulate an outcome, like is it worth it?
Sure.
And I think it's very similar to the territory we're touching with these Marvel movies, especially this one, because it's the first like Fox one that's now Disney, right? So we're getting into that territory of like, should we touch the timeline or not?
Yeah.
So
No.
Good answer.
They,
But
they made it very clear the sacred timeline.
right.
sacred
right.
timeline is the
Sacred.
Avengers,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
everybody else is just other timeline.
Yes, absolutely. Those poor other characters. But
Poor Deadpool.
let's go to another one, Marco.
So I'll just do one real quick. Talking about all the fight sequences, the bus scene, that's Old Boy.
Yes.
They're giving you the side scroller. So that one came to mind. But one that I kind of thought of just because this movie is very much making the parody of like buddy cop films and like action films, but Hot Fuzz as well. Like that same sort
Yeah.
of buddy unconventional duo, kind of like one's trying to prove himself while the other is the well, maybe not the goody two shoes in this one, but that same sort of dynamic and the same sort of humor. There's even the scene where Deadpool's getting the new suit.
Yeah.
And they're doing like the quick cuts, boom, snap, bam, boom, boom, butt slap,
Yeah,
It
montage
was-
stuff.
Yeah. And of course, Hot Fuzz is just parodying all action films, but this more so stuck to me because of the parody. So, and Hot Fuzz is just a brilliant film.
Hot Fuzz,
That's a
absolutely
really
rules.
good piece. That's a good piece. I like that.
I like that, absolutely, yeah, and I think there's so many like of those kinds of movies that we could point to, but that one being so self-referential,
Exactly.
it knows it exists in a world where we already know all these action comedy tropes and stuff like that, and it's just playing with all those things. So I think that's a good one. We'll go through one more round of pieces, then we'll open it up to the floor. I actually just wanted to throw one every once in a while. I'll throw something in that's not a movie as a puzzle piece, and just something I kept thinking about in The Void, where we're seeing like the 20th Century Fox logo and all these other things from the world of Marvel. I was thinking of here in Las Vegas, the Neon Museum. Just all these like little decommissioned classic pieces of Vegas history. This is like the Marvel history version of that in a way. It's a fun set piece, and I don't think they do enough with it, but it's kind of cool to see some of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like the Neon Boneyard.
Yeah.
All the stuff they have there. Yeah, for me, I'm going to give you 2 for the price of 1. One, Wreck-It Ralph.
Okay.
Has a lot of like just the inside stuff and all that goodness. So yeah, but Wreck-It Ralph was done better. And also, I'm gonna give you a TV show because it's kind of funny because I love Succession. Succession's one of my favorite shows ever. Matthew Macfadyen, who plays Tom Wambsgans on Succession, is the bad guy in this movie, and it's good to see him kind of, he's such a tremendous actor, so it's good to see him in a Marvel type film, where he's getting the big stage. But it's kind of funny because if you're a Succession fan, he's always kind of reaching for power, and he's trying desperately to get to the top and be bigger than his role and bigger than himself.
And he's a weasel.
And that's literally kind of what he did in this film, with a little less sophistication, but it was kind of a lot of the same type of things where he's in a bureaucracy, he's in a hierarchy, and he's trying to, make something out of himself and grow out of his shell and become the man. So it's kind of interesting to see him as a bad guy doing that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I was definitely thinking about Succession too, especially with his character. But let's go on to another one from you, Faith.
Okay, we're just on the same wavelength because I swear when I watch a trailer for when I prep for one of these podcasts, I always think of how I can incorporate Hot Fuzz because I love that movie. But I thought of another one earlier when I was watching the trailer. Anything with like Kevin Hart and like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, or like, so I'm thinking Central Intelligence or Ride Along, either of those, because like we all mentioned, it's a buddy comedy kind of vibe to the film. Kevin Hart's usually the unserious, serious kind of guy, and then the Dwayne or Ice Cube is usually pissed off and just trying to like get the job done, which I think is Hugh Jackman, and then you got Ryan Reynolds, who's just like, I'm just here to have fun, and make some friends. So I think it's very similar in the way they portray that like buddy vibe.
That's fun. I like that. I like that a lot. And yeah, those characters, that whole bickering thing is just it's perfect for these two. So it's a great setup for that kind of thing.
Good dynamic.
One more from you, Marco.
So for the sake of name dropping another Ryan Reynolds movie like they did in the movie, I'm gonna go Just Friends.
Okay.
Just to go with the midlife crisis Deadpool after he gets rejected from the Avengers. And then I believe his name was the nice guy Deadpool.
Nice Pool.
Nice
right?
Pool.
Nice
Nice
Pool.
Pool. Yeah. He just had that like that Chris vibe from Just Friends. And even just like his mannerisms and everything just reminded me of like Ryan Reynolds in that fat suit with the perm, you know? Just doing bits. So that's going to be my third one. Yeah. But I did just want to add T.I., Bring 'Em Out. One of the best needle drop songs that I've heard in a Marvel movie. Like, I was pumped up. I was like, all right, we just got Blade. T.I. drops. Oh man. I was pretty hyped for that moment.
Hell yeah! That was a good track to get them into that big showdown. I love that.
I'm really sad Greatest Showman only played for like 2 seconds. I was like waiting for Hugh Jackman to break out in the song, and that didn't happen.
We could have gotten more of that for sure.
I wish. Maybe some extended. I'm sure there's an extended cut of him singing it somewhere.
Yeah.
Release the tape. Just kidding.
Absolutely. Well, I want to open it up to the floor, get some puzzle pieces, see if anybody out here has any. And we do have some Marvel DVDs donated to us by Wax Trax Records, my family's record store here in Las Vegas.
Ooh.
So anybody who can think of something we didn't mention yet that seems like a good fit for this movie, you'll get to pick in the grab bag. Do we have anything? I got one right over here. You can just yell it out. You're close. You're close enough.
All right, sweet. Can I do two at once?
Do it.
All right. I felt like with the multiverse thing and the meta-referential thing, it felt like the movie was a lot like Everything All at Once meets Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ooh. Okay.
Wow.
Ferris
If that
Bueller.
makes-
I like it. That's a great combination. I mean, yeah, you got the multiverse stuff, and then you got these friends who are best friends, but they also are kind of on each other's nerves. We talked about the bickering stuff, and also in the car, and also on like a little adventure together through the town. And yeah, that's great. I like both of those. I think those are great. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious because Everything Everywhere All at Once is tremendous. Such an incredible film. Why were they able to stick the landing with the multiverse stuff and this can't?
Because I think they kind of started it. I think they were pretty early on in the I'm gonna explore the multiverse, and they're not also tied down to like this preconceived MCU. Like Everything Everywhere All at
good
Once
point.
it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like it could have been anything.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's more of an independent film that went on to be super successful, but like they aren't tied down to all this pre-existing IP and
Yeah.
Yeah.
the exposition
Fan
like
expectations.
that was literally like a film. Like I remember watching it and being like, that is
Well, it was in service of a story, whereas
Right.
this is in service of we can bring back anyone you love.
right. And I
any
saw
of
an
your
article that
characters.
was like already Robert Downey Jr. said like he's open to coming back.
Oh, no.
Of course he is. Like this
Until
is a
you're
big
90.
payday, right? Like that's the crazy thing is now we're opening this up and it might get really tiring very quickly, or it already is. And Everything Everywhere All at Once was just literally that. Like I think that title says it all. Like that's a movie.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's beautifully done.
Absolutely.
Just to touch base on like the multiverse thing, the one thing that I was expecting from this movie was that there would be like, in like Enter the Spider-Verse where they would like go into like the different like dimensions and there's like a different art style,
Yeah.
or even how they jumped into like the actual like real world 616 or whatever. I thought that there would at least be some sort of scene where Deadpool would do that. You kind of get it with like the CG, or not the CG, but like the other pools, but there was no like concise moment, you
Yeah.
know?
Do you think like that scene with all the Deadpools opens it up for them to do series with just Deadpool universes?
Oh
Because
my
that's what I
gosh,
felt like
you're
might happen.
calling this right
and I
now.
think that this is like that could be. I mean, we already see all that merchandise of like Deadpool being a billion different things, and then just present it. We didn't get to see Blake Lively's face, but she's in the credits.
Was it Blake? I
It
was
did say
wondering
Blake
about that.
Lively. I looked,
Yeah.
and
We didn't
Kid
see
Pool is
Panda
their
Pool
kid.
either, yeah.
Kid Pool is apparently their kid. I don't know.
Really?
That's what it said. It said something Reynolds, and I was like, oh,
There you
I
go.
see what you did there.
Yeah.
But I think like they already have What If, they already have these series, and they tried to do Wanda, and I'll die on that hill. They fucked it up. No offense. But I think like the Deadpool universe is something that might be interesting to look at, but as like a TV show. Like let's not make it a movie. Please don't make it a movie. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's what they're doing, right? And going back on the other hill we just talked on, like Everything Everywhere All at Once is that, right? They might do something else. I don't think they ever planned on it, but with Marvel, it's almost like they're not they need to be unified in how they're going to portray this timeline. Because right now,
They've been spinning.
it's just everywhere. It's different. Like we set it up in Loki, we set it up here. Like Sam Raimi has a version of it, and then WandaVision had a version of it, and this has a version. Like
Immortals exists.
Right, but who remembers them, right? Like that's the crazy thing is, I like Marvel, but I'm a little like I'm confused. Like maybe that's the point, but it's kind of frustrating because it's like where are we going right now?
Yeah, for sure.
And then we
for
have all
sure.
these questions of like who's Lady Deadpool? Like can we get more of that? Like what? But
There's
yeah.
a lot to get into there. By the way, I've done many episodes on Marvel movies over the last 6 years. I've been doing this podcast, but never a live one in the theater experience. And so this is fun, like getting into all this Marvel stuff. And what they are doing right and what they're doing wrong, which there's a lot of. But let's get to some more pieces. Anybody else in the crowd we got one right back there?
Not pieces, but more opinion-based questions.
Mm-hmm.
So one, like, how do you feel about the whole TVA thing and like maybe it's tying into Loki? And then two, Deadpool's pretty set in his style of movie, but would you want to see Wolverine maybe break the fourth wall at some point and become more like the Deadpool style of movie?
I mean, I'll answer the TVA one because I am a sucker for meta stuff, and I like the idea of that as like Marvel speaking through these characters, and like it's Marvel's decision on what's going to happen. It's the success of the movie is going to be what the TVA does, what Marvel does. So I do like that. What do you guys think though, as far as Wolverine? I mean, I'm not even the biggest. I think I've seen all of the Wolverine movies, but like once each. So I'm not really an expert on Wolverine as a character.
I feel like there's already a Deadpool Wolverine somewhere in the multiverse. I mean, I feel like anything
do
is
it.
possible at this point, right? Like I don't know if he'd break the fourth wall. It'd be kind of interesting if he starts breaking the fourth wall. I know I keep going back to Doctor Strange 2. She looked at the camera at one point. Like we're just like investigating,
on accident.
right? Like we're investigating the whole thing,
Can't
like
find the
every
camera
little
all the time.
piece, right? Like oh my God, are they breaking the multiverse? Like what's happening? Like I don't know if another character breaking the fourth wall would keep. Like I feel like it's going to confuse us even more, right? Like
Right.
what are we really?
What is the tone
What are we
here?
doing?
What is this?
I think at this point, like I said, it needs to be kind of be unified in some way, and like the original like Avengers up until Infinity War and Endgame, I think that there was more like collaboration and there was a lot
Sure.
of like you could feel it, like you knew that we were going to
Yeah.
a place. I think we're all very confused at where we are
I
right
think
now,
so,
and I think that's
absolutely.
kind of why I'm like, why don't we need to calm down with new stuff and
I
come
think
up with
so.
what we're like, where are we going?
Well, I think we had one right up here.
Just something that I loved about the movie is that in a way that maybe only Deadpool can, it addressed like rumors. Like you had Channing Tatum with who was rumored to play Gambit in the standalone
Sure.
film for a long time, and then you also had the part where Wesley Snipes' Blade says, "I'm the only Blade." With everything that's going on with the Mashar Ali
Yeah.
version of Blade and all the pushbacks and everything like that. So. For me, as a fan of not only Marvel but MCU, because those are two distinctly different groups,
Yeah.
that was awesome for me to see, for them to address that directly and kind of poke fun at it.
Yeah, I like that too. I also really liked Henry Cavill as a Wolverine, which that's funny because I didn't even think that was like a real, like I thought that was like a message board rumor, not even like one that like made it out into, but like, so that was like pretty random out there. But yeah, I mean, that just all adds into, I started this conversation bringing up The Flash, and that, we had the Nicolas Cage Superman in there, and
There's a real one for that one.
yeah. So, I think it's kind of playing in that same fan servicey world. And, I thought they did it well here. I thought it was fun. But we got another one right up there.
I thought, and I'm not disappointed, but I thought that the end of the movie might show who the new big bad is in the Avengers movies, and maybe clear up the timeline in terms of Jonathan Majors and like whether or not Kang is going to be even recast or whatever. I was kind of expecting that toward the end.
Yeah.
Were any of you disappointed about how this does not set up anything moving forward, or were you cool with just being a Deadpool and Wolverine movie?
Well, I think like what Faith was just saying, like we're just spinning wheels here. Like we, there's nothing really being
Listen,
set up. It's just fun.
I want to say I do love Marvel. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm just a little like confused, and
Yeah.
I'm not frustrated that we don't know the big bad. I think overall I am, right, because we keep getting like not spoilers, but we're trying to get to a place, but I don't think any of us can see where we're going right now. Like
Yeah.
I think it's very much like. I want to know who the big bad is. I don't think they would reveal it in this movie because this is like their first Marvel Studios addition to the whatever canon. I don't know, whatever it's called. But I think that they're trying to gauge where to go from reaction, like, or they should. But I mean, I don't know if they even know who the big bad is at this point, right?
I don't think so.
Like Ant-Man and Ant-Man Quantumania didn't do that well. I mean. I don't think I'm the only one that didn't like that one.
I don't.
I didn't
and
like
I
it.
loved Ant-Man. For context, Ant-Man and the Wasp, I like that duo. I really enjoy them. And I was also equally as heartbroken when I left that movie as I was for Doctor Strange 2. Like
too.
that's kind of the vibe I'm at, and it's kind of painful that I have to say that because I really do like Marvel movies. But the same time, what do they call it? Superhero fatigue? I don't know if that's it, because let me tell you, I love watching the Harley Quinn TV series, and I'm looking forward to Joker and Harley, right? That's, and they recast it all, like it's different Harleys, but I like it, but it's not. I think we all recognize that it's just different versions. And
we just don't want them to get lazy, really.
Right. We don't want them to make this crazy multiverse where they're trying to connect everybody. I think the standalone that DC does is doing pretty well. I mean, we had a really bad Suicide Squad, or not the bad. I liked it, though, to be fair. I liked that Suicide Squad, and then everybody else didn't like it. Then we got the Suicide Squad, and it was totally different. Itself, yeah. And it redeemed the whole group there, right? So I think there's like a different approach that both, what are they called? Both companies or both superhero franchises are doing. And I think that I'm really curious to see what happens with DC.
Absolutely. I want to get one more from the crowd, and then we'll get into some closing thoughts. We got one right back there.
With the extra-dimensional, apocalyptic, like buddy scenario, I was thinking, well, this one is pretty, I don't know, it doesn't really work either, but Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Oh, boy. To bring it back to Henry Cavill, who's going to be in the remake, by the way. But
it's like this unkillable duo just on a lark, and they're trying to stop the end of the world, but there's also like the Ramirez, like going to the tailor, suiting up to go across the world. Yeah, it's pretty much that.
Love it. I need to rewatch those movies. I've been looking forward to getting back into those. You know what? We're going to get into closing thoughts. My dad keeps raising his hand. Dad, what do you got over there?
What we got, Pops?
I'm the only one who saw this. In the middle of the movie, Deadpool, when they were going to kill all the Deadpools, Wolverine looked like he was half the size. Like they put an extra in.
Well, that's possible. There's a lot of
that was one of the multiverse versions of
Maybe
Wolverine.
we just found a flaw in the multiverse here, I feel like.
Yeah, it was like a little person Wolverine.
It wasn't Wolverine.
Right.
It was somebody who was much smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Let's get into some closing thoughts here. We're almost out of time. Mike, closing thoughts.
Disappointed.
Yeah.
I think especially because, beyond the film, one of the intricate behind the scenes elements to this is the fact that Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and Shawn Levy, the director, they're all super close, good friends.
Sure.
And I think sometimes you think, okay, you have three guys who are all really close in their personal lives. They hang out, they do holidays together, they love each other. There's going to be this synergy and chemistry that's going to translate to the screen and to a story. And I'm disappointed. I don't think it translated as well as a, cohesive artistic grouping of people who I all think are super talented. I don't think they did enough to differentiate that core from the MCU. I thought they were going to take the momentum of the previous two films and really stay in their lane and keep it their own and just use the platform of the MCU to make it a better, more gigantic, true to itself kind of thing. And I think they lost their way a little bit. I don't think it was as good as I was anticipating.
Fair enough. And I just want to say, even though I didn't necessarily love this movie, it was way better than Free Guy, the Shawn Levy movie, which
Yes.
I don't want to talk about that. Let's move on to Faith's closing thoughts.
I think I disagree because I actually liked it. Maybe my expectations are low right now because like I said, I don't trust Marvel as much as I used to. No, I think I did enjoy it. It was different than all the other Deadpools, but it was like a welcome change for me. I don't know. I liked involving the TVA. I think that's interesting to me, and I want to see more of that and more info about that. As a director myself, I like being friends with my actors sometimes, and James Gunn also talks about this when he works with all his friends. He doesn't call them, actors. He calls them his friends. For me, I think I felt it a little bit. I wish that cut, though, I think that's an important spot that got cut out, was that speech that Wolverine was trying to give to Deadpool. I feel like we're missing a very important part, and when I rewatch it, I'm sure maybe I'll cry. I don't know. But I think that there is that I felt some synergy, but I genuinely think that we missed some of it from that weird playback. But I think overall we're on some kind of path. I'm hopeful to see what happens. And now we've opened a door that I hope they can somehow guide us through, not just spill out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Absolutely. Marco, how about you?
So I'll say something super quick, and then I have a question for you, Mike. As soon as they hit the void, Wolverine drinks 3 alcohols. It's Jim Beam, Johnny Walker, and
Rubbing alcohol.
And yes, that was the other. Jim, and John and Johnny Walker. The 3 wise men is that name of the drink when you mix all 3 of those. So that was my sign that I knew that he was going to come back and do it for the good guys. Shout out the 3 wise men.
Wow.
Now, Mike.
Wow.
I
My mind
love
was just blown with that. Okay.
the way that you are, you and I, the way that we're talking, the way that you're talking about superhero movies is how I kind of feel.
We're also wearing very similar glasses.
Yes, that's exactly it. We're on the same vibe. I like the best thing about this movie was when it wasn't being a superhero movie. And I guess my question to you, this is a super loaded question, but I just kind of want like a quick plan. What happens next if you were to write the next MCU movie?
Then,
Or at least like the next arc?
Wow. I'd ask Kevin Feige for a hefty paycheck.
Yes.
Sure.
That would be the first thing I would do. You're saying like I'm doing anything, or am I in Deadpool?
Well, what's the next thing that happens? You know, we could keep it Deadpool, or if it's something that Deadpool's related, but more so we're all talking about like no one knows what happens next in the MCU.
I mean, I guess I'm hoping I get paid for this somewhere, but honestly, I think it's an easy fix. That's what's so puzzling to me about this. I just think you remove yourself from this concept. I think you literally just start doing standalone things like DC's doing. The Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie has nothing to do with the Heath Ledger, Christopher Nolan, spectacle of those 3 great films. Like, so to me, it's like, have Tom Hardy play a version of Wolverine and do a whole thing just right there, and that might be a sign for me to close my thought as people are coming in to clean the theater.
Yeah.
But I just think it's like if a virus is crawling up your leg, sever your leg and just start moving on and do different things. You don't have to continually do fan service. And it's a larger thought to how our world's becoming. We're focusing more on niche, offshoot fan service things. Like you love, the fact that how many people in this theater really know what's going on with Mahershala Ali and the fact that there might be a Blade movie, there might not be a Blade movie. Like we got one guy here who knows that, 2 guys, okay, maybe 3 or 4, but I don't know if I want to bankroll my entire film over satisfying that itch for 3 people. I think that's an okay thing, but it goes back to the tahini on the margarita. We got to focus on what makes a movie a well-rounded movie. So when you're leaving the theater and they're coming to clean up the popcorn like they're doing right now, you feel like you learned something and, you feel a little bit closer to people and humanity because you understand, okay, that's legitimate storytelling. And storytelling is a craft and it's an art and it's being lost.
Fair enough. Mahershala Ali, though, good start for making a good movie. But let's get into some plugs. What do you want to plug, Mike?
You can see, usually I'm a lot more chipper, but I have to wake up early a lot of times for TV. You can watch me on my entertainment lifestyle show on Fox 5, 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. That's the More Show, Fox 5 Las Vegas. And if you love sports, I give a lot of opinions on sports, and I do that on Fox 5 as well as the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. And you can check me on Instagram at Michael Mike Davis because I couldn't get Mike Davis and I couldn't get Michael Davis, so I had to do Michael Mike Davis.
That's a good reason for having that handle. Let's go to you, Faith.
You can find some of my short films on Faith Nault Films on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram, StrongFaith1, and all my links are there for all of my random stuff I do. And give me a follow, reach out. If you want to keep talking about Marvel movies, feel free to send me a DM. Anyways, but I think that's everything.
Awesome. How about you, Marco?
I will be announcing Grap House Coast to Coast, which will be live professional all ages wrestling at Ferguson's downtown here,
Nice.
live in Las Vegas. So catch me in the ring, not necessarily telling jokes or watching movies, but Grap House is professional wrestling at its finest. For sure.
Right on,
Come check
right
us out.
on. Well,
and I'm sorry, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Yummus Hummus. Hummus, like more like Yummus. Thanks.
That's a good
And
handle.
I just wanted to say thank you to Maya Cinemas for having us out. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, August 15th for Alien Romulus. Then we'll be back September 5th for Beetlejuice. We'll also be at Downtown Cinemas on August 4th for Trap. And thank you, everybody, so much for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, this is Wax Trax Records here on 2909 South Decatur. We buy all your old 45s, your old albums, any type of music memorabilia. Also, we sell music memorabilia, albums, CDs, and a lot. Come on down to Wax Trax, 2909 South Decatur, or give me a call at 702-362-4300. Thank you very much.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Deadpool and Wolverine. Thank you so much to Mike Davis, Faith Nault, and Marco Arriaga for joining me on that one. Thank you to Maya Cinemas for having us out. Thank you to everyone who showed up at the theater for that one. And thank you to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, of course, make sure you are subscribed wherever it is that you're listening. Also, maybe drop us a little 5-star rating and review. That would be very helpful to make sure more people check out the show. You can follow me on social media at PiecingPod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. I also have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I post bonus and advanced content from Piecing It Together, from Awesome Movie Year, which is another movie podcast that I produce, and from my music career. A lot of great stuff over there. A couple new things from Awesome Movie Year just went up. I've got some advanced episodes of Piecing It Together up there, and I'm about to post a whole bunch of music over the coming weeks, so keep an eye out for that. But keep listening to Piecing It Together. I really appreciate you all being out there. Get in touch if you ever have some puzzle pieces that you thought of for a movie that we covered on the show that we didn't bring up. I'd love to hear those puzzle pieces. I will read them on the next trailer episode as well. But also, maybe you want to be on an episode sometime. I love hearing from people. I love getting new voices on the show. So do get in touch, either on social media. You can contact me right through the website, piecingpod.com, where you can also find out about our upcoming live shows. Or, wherever else you can find me. So, with that said, let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And Deadpool and Wolverine, they get stuck in the void in this movie. So I'm going to go with a track from my current 24 for 2024 series, which is something I'm doing where I'm releasing a new single on the first and third Friday of every month of 2024. That's 24 new songs. And one of those songs is this one. It's called Back Into the Void. So I hope you enjoy it. The whole series can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services. And check it out. There's a playlist available. All these songs that keep coming first and third Friday of every month to go along with all my albums that are out there. So I hope you enjoy this one. Go check out the rest of my music, and we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
an All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.